Wow, I love that theme song. Welcome to week 4 of the This Week in Film podcast, the show where we discussed what movies we saw this week. Joining me, Nick Panotto, on the panel this week, as always, Tony LeBoy and Charlie Chester.
Hey, what's going on, guys? All right, you're very enthusiastic.
Yeah,
this week,
Tony is.
I just wanted to...
He loves to say hello.
Yeah.
Tony, tell us what you saw this week.
This week...
Greetings!
I spent 7 hours of my life, and I watched the Godfather epic, which, if you don't know about that one, is basically Godfather 1 and 2 cut in pretty much chronological order. Throughout the whole movie, they go chronological. So it starts with Robert De Niro's part, Vito Corleone, and goes through... then after that, it goes through 1, and eventually ends with 2. So it was...
So they take all the flashbacks from 2 and put it before Godfather 1.
Right.
And then they roll from Godfather 1 and right into Godfather 2.
Right. So it's not as simple as that, because they do have some deleted scenes and things like that that they add throughout to give a little bit of extra storyline, I guess. There's one part where, spoiler alert, after Apollonia blows up in the car. Right. In Godfather 1, when Michael goes back to Corleone, I believe his name was...
Don.
I forget his name, but the one henchman...
Everyone's named Donald in that movie.
The henchman who blows up the car, there's a little storyline where Michael is actually looking for him throughout 1 and 2.
Really?
Yeah, that they did that. That
like
obviously
a
wasn't
deleted
in the first.
scene that
Yeah,
they pumped it?
Yeah,
Oh.
there's a couple deleted scenes, so
That's
that
awesome.
They add that little storyline in there. So that was cool.
Does
Anything...
the chronological order, does that kind of bore the storytelling?
I wouldn't. No, because it definitely makes, like, once you get to 2, it kind of flies, because I mean, what made 2 long was the parts where they flash back to Vito growing up. But so. Yeah, it's definitely a different movie.
Anything from 3?
No, nothing from 3. Yeah, they leave that out. Because originally, why this whole thing was made was so Coppola could fund Apocalypse Now. He was so over budget that he needed something. So he sold Godfather Epic to a network, and they aired it in parts.
Okay. All right.
And Charlie, you watched a short this week?
Yeah, it was called World of Tomorrow.
Yeah.
16 minutes long. It's on Netflix right now. And it was not Oscar nominated, 2015. It was great. It was great. I mean, the animation is super simplistic. It's almost like hand drawn by like a non-artist, but the story
is so complex, like that. It's very cool, like the juxtaposition of that.
Yeah, absolutely. Basic idea of the story is a young girl, maybe like 5 years old, is visited by her future self. And you come to find that in the future, people are cloned. They clone themselves if you're rich enough to afford it. And then you're offered immortality if you have the money for it. So you keep cloning over and over again. You do age as a clone, but, you know. So this person that comes back in time is like the 4th generation of herself coming back to find a memory that she's lost over time that still exists in the young girl. Just to, I guess, get a handle on her own humanity. Because you've come to find that in the future, everything's about to end. It's all gonna be destroyed, and she wants some solace in her last moments and remember what it is to have been an innocent person, like human being again.
Cool.
Yeah.
So
Definitely worth watching.
Yeah, one of my favorite parts of that short was that Emily.
Spoiler alert.
Right.
She's got a name.
Emily, the little girl. All her dialogue was filmed by her mother. Made the movie. All her dialogue was filmed while she was playing. So it's just a little 2-year-old girl playing and drawing at home, they filmed her doing that, and they inserted that into the movie, and they kind of made the movie around that dialogue. So it's definitely cute and adds like a natural portion to the movie.
Yeah, you could tell that like she says something randomly about rainbows, and you could tell that in the story they had to figure out a way to integrate rainbows into the story.
Right.
You know, and it's cool. It's like this collage storytelling. It's fresh and it feels natural. So I really dug it, and it's I don't want to say it's like a tearjerker or anything like that, but it holds your attention and it's emotional on some level.
For sure.
Gotcha. Charlie cried. So one of the things I saw this week was the documentary Electric Boogaloo, the wild story.
Been on my list for a while.
Of Canon Films. It's a Canon Films documentary. And if you're not aware of who Canon Films were.
Yeah.
If you're not aware of who Canon Films was, any 80s basically any 80s movie just starring Chuck Norris or Charles Bronson, if it was terrible and for whatever reason was in the movie theaters, was
If you
probably
loved it as a kid growing up, they made it.
Or if you loved it as an adult, it's
true.
It's the definition of action. They say it in the movie. It's the definition of action schlock. Like they took a concept and ran with it, and it's a great documentary if you're into those kinds of movies, which I am. I love them.
Yeah, what are some of the movies they made? Death Wish.
Some of the movies they made. Well, I don't know if they made the first Death Wish, but they definitely made Death Wish 2 through 5.
Which
they made
great.
All of the what's the Chuck Norris Special Forces?
Delta
Force.
Delta Force.
They made all the Delta Force movies. They made Invasion USA. They made Masters of the Universe. They made Superman 4.
All the classics.
They made a bunch of Indiana Jones ripoffs.
They were a sequels company.
Well, they bought for instance, with Superman, they bought the production rights from Warner Brothers because they said, well, we can make this a hit again, and they spent so much money to bring everybody back, and no one wanted to be in it. No one wanted to do it, and then they spent so much money bringing everybody back that there was no money for the budget, so they literally use the same shot of Superman flying towards the screen 10 different times in the movie. They just keep reusing footage and just overlaying a different effect in the background. It almost makes you love Superman 4. I wanted to go back and watch that, but then I didn't. But yeah, it's definitely a great documentary. Just check it out. Tony, you saw another movie this week.
I did see another movie. I saw Inside Llewyn Davis, which is fantastic. Coen Brothers flick. Basically, it's about a down-and-out folk singer, couch surfing. He's pretty much homeless. He just makes his rounds around the city and just sleeps on people's couches. He's still trying to make it as a folk singer. And it's just kind of about his 1 week in the life of Llewyn Davis, and I would highly recommend it. It's a pretty cut and dry story.
I saw this movie as well, and I'm curious your take on one scene in particular, the car scene. This is after Llewyn, he's basically needs a ride, right?
Yeah. Yep.
And he's offered a ride by some pretty unsavory characters.
John Goodman and. I recognize the driver. He was in Four Brothers.
Yeah.
Two brothers?
Two brothers.
No,
he is in the movie.
He's been in, I think that guy's been in a bunch of stuff. But yeah, so what is your take on that scene? Because it could be a bland scene by description, but I think there's something bigger going on there.
Right. So basically, at this point in time, he's pretty much worn out his welcome in New York. So he heads out to Chicago. He gets a ride with a beat poet who's the driver, and John Goodman is he's a jazz musician. And basically,
why did we make eye contact on that?
I don't know. If you didn't say anything, we could have had that moment.
Yeah, that could have been a secret moment between you two. I was not involved. I was thinking about my next point.
That's what bonds are made of.
I'm gonna walk out and let you guys continue. Now, so I think Llewyn's taking a glimpse into his possible future.
Yes, yeah, I think. The beatnik character is so Kerouac, like on the road, sort of character.
Hand jobs.
Yeah, I almost feel like it's like Llewyn Davis's.
You weren't making a point. You were.
I thought we would make eye contact again. And
Stop making suggestions.
Explicit.
that's all I know about that on the road movie.
I read something crazy that the cat is. I don't want to dive too much into it for people who haven't seen it, but the cat is actually Llewyn Davis.
Okay.
So keep that in mind for people who want to check it out. Just keep these thoughts in mind. It's definitely a great flick. If you're a fan of the Coen Brothers at all, I would definitely put that on your list.
Yeah, it's definitely. It doesn't have that Coen Brothers comedy to it. It's got more of a
it's definitely
dramatic.
the darker humor. I've not seen A Serious Man, but I heard it related to that kind of humor. Anyway, who's next?
Oh, I'll go next.
All right.
Great transition. So the other movie that I watched this week was Pixar's latest, Good Dinosaur.
Oh, I wanted to see that.
Don't.
What?
Actually,
What?
you should watch it. It was awful. Spoiler alert, at the end, there's an ending. Hey, you know what? Spoiler alert, I'll just tell you because the movie sucked. At the end, the little boy... let me start over. So the premise of the movie is the asteroid that killed the dinosaurs never does. Right? It just skips across the sky.
Okay.
Doesn't matter at all. This is what this movie looks like. The background, it's Pixar, so everything is CGI, and the backgrounds are unbelievable. I mean, you lose yourself looking at these backgrounds.
I see where you're going. Okay.
And the main characters are the worst looking animations you've ever seen.
Two different types of animation.
Absolutely.
Juxtaposition.
It looks like the Incredibles, the world of the Incredibles put on top of an IMAX documentary about here's Yellowstone.
That can be done really well, but it doesn't sound like they did it well.
No.
They did not. This movie, The Good Dinosaur, starts out, you don't know what kind of dinosaurs they are. You're just kind of supposed to assume they're like a brontosaurus or a brachiosaurus kind of thing. Just a four-legged longo. And it's a scientific term for dinosaurs.
We'll look it up later.
And they introduce all these characters, like the mama and the father are farmers.
Okay.
They farm. Basically, when the asteroid didn't destroy the Earth, dinosaurs weren't destroyed, but they also didn't evolve at all. It's 65 million years later. It's today, but the dinosaurs.
And dinosaurs are just walking around.
Dinosaurs are.
Do they speak?
Yes, they speak English, which makes sense because it's a
Well, they
children's
did
movie.
evolve.
Well, they farm. They farm corn. They do everything.
And they coexist with humans?
Humans exist, but I wouldn't say they coexist.
Do they eat them?
There's a great scene at the beginning of the movie. The beginning of the movie, every character goes from so far to the left, from so far to the right, like this.
Okay.
I mean, it's the father character goes from the main character of the movie. I forget his name, Arlo or something like that. He is scared. He's a scaredy cat dinosaur. Like, he's afraid of the chickens that they have. They have chickens that they raise for eggs.
Okay.
And he's afraid of them, and the father's like, "Oh, he's just a boy. He'll grow into it, and he'll grow up." And then all of a sudden, the father goes, "You're not advancing fast enough. Come with me. We're gonna work together on a project because something has been eating their corn." And you figure out real quick that it's a small human.
Yeah.
But the humans are essentially dogs or wolves. Anyway, so the father says, "We're gonna set up a trap." So they set up the thing where you pull the corn and then the net comes down on him.
Oh, yeah.
Kind of a thing.
Yeah.
And then the father goes, "All right, so when this net comes, I want you to take this." And he hands him a spiked club with his mouth because they don't have hands because they're dinosaurs. But he hands him a spiked club and he says, after you catch him, you crush his head.
Sounds like this movie is all over the place.
What the
This
hell?
movie is all over the place. It goes from so far kiddie to like almost an R
Wow.
horror story.
You got to stick with
It is,
themes.
and I know they had all kinds of production issues. I know that one of the a director I think got pulled from the project, and they pumped another one in to just try and like power through to finish the project. But
Maybe that's where the theme.
Yeah, like
changed.
they pulled the
So-
director. Who they add in? Eli Roth? What is he?
I forget, but and it seemed like they wanted to do Finding Nemo with dinosaurs,
Right.
but it just does not work It does not work
Sheesh.
at all. Like, you could go into every scene, but that scene where the father hands the son dinosaur a club, which is a instrument that man uses because we have hands.
Right.
Yeah.
Like, I wouldn't hand you something to use with your mouth to hit something.
Yeah.
These dinosaurs have large tails. Why wouldn't it grab it with its tail? If it had to use a weapon, why wouldn't it use
This
its
is what
tail?
you're arguing?
When
he
you
handed it a
the
club
physics-
with his
the
the
mouth.
physics don't make any
the physics
sense.
of it don't make any sense.
Right.
Why are the main characters dinosaurs other than the fact that this asteroid never hit? It's
Right, they could have been anything.
Well, and that concludes Nick's ruining a children's movie for the week. It
Right.
seems to be a theme.
Oh wait, we forgot to mention last week's Workaholics.
Oh,
tie-in.
right. The chick from Workaholics who's in Goosebumps.
So Charlie, you watched
I also watched this week another movie, and I have to say I was actually really embarrassed to admit this.
That is the new guest horn, welcoming our first guest into the podcast, Keith Seddon.
Hey, hi. This is like a real honor, guys.
Can we get the horn guy to play a theme song?
Yeah, I'm going to try and talk to him after the show.
Keith, welcome to the show.
Thank you. Thanks. Hi.
It's very appropriate that you're here because
Why?
I think you'll appreciate the movie that I watched this past week, which was Batman and Robin, Joel Schumacher, Chris O'Donnell, and I believe your favorite Batman?
It's George Clooney.
George
Yes.
Clooney.
Yeah,
Right.
did you watch it on TBS?
No, it was.
feel like that's the only
I
way
think
to
it was
watch
on
that
like
movie.
Showtime. There
Oh.
wasn't commercials. And
It's a great film.
I'm gonna have to say
Keith,
no.
I need you to chill out.
Well, I don't understand it. I enjoy Batman and Robin.
The movie is by all means it pays homage back to the Adam West, like
I
campy.
disagree. I completely disagree.
Do you?
Yeah.
Do you?
Like, if you look into the making of that movie, Warner Brothers had no idea what Joel Schumacher was doing, and they would get the dailies and just say, more of this. So they just kept throwing more and more neon into everything.
Which
Oh
is
my
good,
God.
because that's what makes the movie awesome. I mean, it's lines like, chill out, and...
Why is he Dr. Freeze? Like, if you look at the
It's
comic
Mr.
book characters,
Mr.
Mr.
Freeze.
Freeze, he should be Bane.
I mean, he is a doctor. It should
Yeah.
be Dr. Freeze. He's a very important scientist in the world of cryo.
I'm sorry, I just assumed he had his
Bionics.
doctorate.
All right, so I want to circle back. Oh, Keith, what makes George Clooney your favorite Batman, and why is it his nipples?
30 seconds.
Well,
Keith.
his nipples
Wrap it up.
are... The bat suit is quite impressive. In fact, it's because of the bat suit...
Keith, tell us why you're wrong.
Okay.
It's all that bat suit is an arrow down to his crotch.
But
If you
that's
look
what
at
we're
it.
obviously looking at,
Right,
though.
okay.
I mean, it's George
Awesome.
Clooney.
Yeah.
I don't think it's about George Clooney being the best Batman. I just think he's the best Bruce Wayne because he's suave and he's a really sweet, entrepreneur, and he's a bachelor. Where, I don't know, Christian Bale, I just didn't believe him the whole time. No, I didn't care for it.
All
That's
right.
been Keith on Batman.
That's right.
Thanks for joining us, Keith.
Yeah, we're
Thanks,
running
guys.
really long this week. We all know Batman and Robin sucks. Maybe someone else will watch. Don't leave the room.
Yeah, don't-
don't mess up our tone like that.
Oh, it's only 54.
Yeah, right.
All right, Keith. We live outside of time.
All right, there's one other thing I have to say. They gave him
Kill
a
his
bat
mic.
card. At one point, he takes out an Amex. It says, "Never leave home without it." It says
cave,
Batman.
never
on
Yeah,
leave
it.
guess what? That's
Never
called
leave the cave
making
without-
money.
Who approved him for this card?
He's a billionaire.
They
that no
do
one knows
background
about.
checks on people. It's just preposterous.
All right, so this has been week 4 of the This Week in Film podcast. It went real long. Charlie, Boy Zero, Comic-Con.
Yeah, my comic book is going to be coming out very soon, and Comic-Con, Cleveland, Ohio.
Hold on. Keith, do you have any plugs?
Do I have any plugs?
Yeah.
No.
Plug something.
I don't do anything. That's the problem.
Okay, we got to... Tony, while I'm doing this, think of your question for this week. I'd like to shout out our Tony's question from last week. How long do you think Bill Murray was trapped in Groundhog Day? We had a whole lot of responses.
Yeah, that's a good
But some of the
question.
best, some of the
Thanks,
best included Sam Farley from Facebook says, "I would say he was there at least 40 years with having mastered the piano, ice sculpting, and French." And Jeffrey Heft says, "One day, ... it was a nightmare." Thanks,
Keith, how
Sam
long
and
do you
Jeff.
think?
Those were our
40 years. Then.
40 years, yeah.
those were our 2 top answers for the week. Tony, what do you think is your question for this week?
My question is
Tony's third degree.
my question is pretty simple. Who is your favorite Batman, and why isn't it George Clooney?
But what if it is George Clooney?
Nobody's
Keith, your
going to
mic
agree
is
with
dead.
you.
No one is.
I'm sorry.
Okay.
All right. That's
Thanks
it.
for listening.
Thanks,
See
everyone.
you next week.
Greetings.
Goodbye.
Clown. Noise.